Hi, I'm Jason Isaacs.
My name is Clare-Hope Ashitey.
Hi, my name is Ólafur Darri Ólafsson.
Hey, I'm Jörg Tittel. Hi, I'm Ryan Bousfield.
Welcome to the Sarah O'Connor Show.
Welcome to the Sarah O'Connor Show.
And welcome to the Sarah O'Connor Show.
And welcome to the Sarah O'Connor Show. Welcome to Sarah O'Connor Show.
Welcome to the Sarah O'Connor Show.
Jason Isaacs, welcome to the Sarah O'Connor Show. How are you today?
I flew overnight from Canada to come here to publicise this, so I haven't had any sleep, but I've had a lot of caffeine, so I'm slightly manic, is if the real answer.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for doing that. You play Skew in The Last Worker. Can you tell me how you first heard about the project and why you wanted to be involved?
So the creator of The Last Worker is a certifiable lunatic called Jörg Tittel, who I'm friendly with. I'm friendly with him because he came to me for a different job before. He had written a graphic novel that was award-winning called Ricky Rouse Has a Gun, which, if he'd been my mate before, I'd have said, don't write that, don't be nuts. You can't take on Disney and you can't take on China and copyright. But he did, and we nearly made a movie of it. The pandemic came along, and he said to me, I've got a much madder idea than Ricky Rouse. I want to do a really engaging, dynamic video game about the last worker in a giant fulfillment centre and a robot who becomes his mate and enemy and best friend, and their chance to overturn the world and kill giant tech. And I went, what drugs are you on? Who's selling you drugs in a pandemic? So it was Jörg. I just thought, you know, I've done lots of video games in my life, lots of voice work, but I thought his ideas are he's so continually creative in an unfettered, unfiltered way, and I didn't think for a split second it would be a game. He'd ever get it made, but it was the pandemic. I thought the world was coming to an end anyway, so pretending the world would ever be normal again, and recording voices for a video game about the world coming to an end was a way of distracting myself.
Pleasingly, it didn't.
Well, it's a slow car crash. I mean, the pandemic was an enormous shock to the entire world, but the other things that are coming for us slower, possibly the war in Ukraine will be quicker, but climate change and AI, AGI, and giant tech and the inequality in the world, who knows what a slow car crash moment we're in. The game is it's not designed to send a message. The game is a game. It's meant to be entertaining and engaging, but it also has as its theme waking us all up to the game that's being played on us.
I think the best games or the best entertainment are also ones that give you reason to think and have discussions after it's finished. So can you tell me how you went about finding your character's voice?
Well, I'm from Liverpool originally, and Jörg knew me and knew that, and wanted to do something with Skew, the robot, the digital assistant, as it were, who has been something dropped on his head or jailbroken or hacked for a purpose. I can't give away the story. Really, it's odd. We're talking about a game, and it is very not just interactive. It is a game, but it's a narrative. He pitched me a story, and so there's multiple layers of this, that become revealed to the player, and so I don't want to spoil them. But it was important to try and find a voice that was mischievous, that was subversive, and that was human, and how this, because he reverts to his American voice when he is just a digital assistant. He was originally programmed to train new workers there, but something's happened, and it may be that with the advent of AGI, we have artificial intelligence now. Artificial general intelligence is the thing we're being told to shit ourselves about, because at that point humans are completely redundant. Well, this is set slightly in the future, and AGI is a reality. It's just the discussion is how soon it will come. So he's become this thing. He has feelings. He's lonely, and he's funny, and he's jealous, and he's angry sometimes, and he's scheming, and he's all those things off his own back. No one's programmed those things into him. He has programmed himself in reaction to the world they're surrounded by. And my natural accent seemed like a fun thing to do, because everybody from Liverpool thinks they're a comedian. Everybody is funny, even the unfunny people, or tries to be, which is a pretty enjoyable thing to do, and it's a great place to be for that reason.
Was there much room for improvisation? Of course, there's this massive narrative you're telling, but to do different takes with the scene.
Yeah, well, there was plenty of room for improvisation because the world had stopped. Right. And I have a little mini recording booth, basically a sponge box. I stick my head in. Jörg did something really clever and very unusual. I've been in lots of video games and also lots of animated movies and stuff, and some of them relying on comedy banter between people. I never met the other actors. and recorded completely by myself, just the half of the comedy line by itself 5 times, then the next line by itself, hoping someone can edit it together. Jörg went, fuck that, let's actually record together because we're all at home anyway. So Darri, wherever he was, and me at home in London, and Jörg wherever he was, we were isolated but connected. Like the characters, really. We were all alone in the world, wondering if we'd ever be in the world again, and we were improvising with each other, and we had infinite time. It wasn't like when you book a recording studio for an hour. So yeah, we'd spend all afternoon, or I don't know, 5 o'clock in the morning for me and 4 o'clock in the afternoon for Darri and wherever, and we'd spend a lot of time. Who knows? I don't even know what proportion of things we recorded ended up in the game, because we would go off on some extremely mad tangents.
Have you got any messages for people watching the Sarah O'Connell Show and your fans around the world why they should play the game, and any other messages you may have for them?
Oh my God, I don't deal in messages, I deal in stories. No. And I'm not in the business of selling, making anybody part money for anything, anywhere. I would never do that. I did this thing because my friend was doing it. I think he's creative and brilliant. People who love playing video games, maybe it's nice to take a break from stealing cars and shooting people. And do something which has all the same fun skills and dopamine hits, but has a political narrative that is ripped from, frankly, the things you and I will be talking about when the camera's off, and that we're all talking and thinking about.
Absolutely. So instead of killing people and stealing cars, play a computer game, people. What is wrong with you?
No. They are computer games.
I was checking.
Cars. Yeah, I'm also talking to people who are out killing people. Those people are probably not watching the show anyway. But if you are,
how dare they?
Killing people and stealing cars.
What's the flipping show? What are you doing? Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks very much. It's been fun.
Clare-Hope Ashitey, welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much.
Well, we're here to talk about The Last Worker. You play Hoverbird. Can you tell me, first of all, how you heard about the project, how you got involved?
So I know Jörg, the creator, well. We worked together nearly a decade ago, and have just stayed friends since. And he's been talking to me on and off over the years about this concept and this game and this project. And then he asked me to be in it a couple of years ago. And, I'd already heard so much about it and thought it was wonderful. So I said yes.
That's amazing. And how did you find your voice? Did you experiment with different ones? What was that process like for you?
Oh, interesting. I didn't. It was kind of organically something that came about being there in the studio. So I recorded, it was the depths of the pandemic, and it was just me and Jörg and a sound engineer in a bunker somewhere in East London. And it, I'd read the script, and obviously I knew about the concept, and I think just through exploring the character of Hoverbird and her connection to Kurt, that was just kind of organically where we landed.
That's amazing. And what do you love about your character?
I love how strident and passionate she is. And I also love how, obviously it is a machine that is being controlled by a flesh and blood person. I was going to say how human she is, because of course she is, but how much that humanity comes across and how the relationship develops with Kurt, even through this barrier of technology.
And how long did it take to record all of the dialogue? Did you do it in one go? Did you come back and do pickup sessions?
I did it all in one go. I think my session was about 7 hours. Yeah, which was, it's fine. It's kind of I say standard day, even a short day. It's in a lot of ways taxing because you're just talking the entire time, which can be tough, but it also means that you get to really get into it and find your stride, and I would much rather that than doing it in small sessions.
We're at an event for the game today. Have you had a chance to play it yet?
I have not had a chance to play the game. I've played a tiny bit whilst it's been in development. Yeah. I haven't explored the game in full, which I'm really looking forward to.
It's really good. You're in it.
Is it good? Am I good? Do you like it?
Yeah, so far. I've not played the whole thing, but up till now, it's good, yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm a
huge relief for me. I've spent the day here.
I'm glad that you like it, and I hope that people like it. Like, so much passion has gone into this, and work, both on the technical side and the creative side and all of that kind of thing, and I hope that comes across to people.
It really does. And so, have you worked on many games before?
None. This is my first game.
Oh, wow. Did you enjoy the experience? Do you want to do more of that?
I loved it, and I'd love to do more. There's something very, obviously at the base of it, acting is one thing, but when it's just you in a room kind of, with only a couple of other people, you're having to create a world and convey an entire world just with your voice. And there's something really intimate about that. And I really enjoyed it, of just trying to say, I don't have my facial expressions, I don't have my body language, so I have to tell people this story just with what's coming out of my mouth. And yeah, it was great.
Do you get to record with other people or hear their performances, or was it all very separate?
It was very separate. It was during the pandemic, and also we were all scattered all over the world. So it was really just me and Jörg together in that session. Darri dialed in for a little bit. He was in Australia, I think, at the time, and that was useful to just hear the tone of his voice and hear what he was bringing to the character, so that I had something to kind of work with. But other than that, it was all completely separate. I've met them both for the first time today, both Jason and Darri, in the flesh, which is mad.
So funny, isn't it? You'll watch a Disney film or something and the characters have incredible chemistry, then you find out afterwards they never met.
Absolutely, it is. And it is a testament, I think, to what is possible with acting and what's possible with good acting, because you have to create your own little world and make sure that it conveys what you want it to and what the director wants you to convey, and then it just kind of goes off into the ether and you hope that it makes sense when they put it together.
I guess there's an advantage in doing voiceover because you can read the script, you don't have to learn it necessarily.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot that gets taken away doing a voiceover like this, that you're not having to worry about the hair and makeup or the continuity or the costume or all these other factors. And so it becomes a really intimate experience. And like you said, you don't have to learn the lines, where you have to be very familiar with them, of course, but where you can just really boil it down to figuring out how you convey what this character wants to convey in this time. And it's almost acting in its purest form, if you want to call it that, or a very pure form where it's just that one thing is all that you have to worry about. And I really enjoyed that process.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so you've starred in loads of productions: Riviera, Children of Men, Dr. Foster, Suspects, Funny Women. Can you tell me some of your favourites that you've worked on so far?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, one of my favourites, and not because it's just come out, is the show I did for Sky, Funny Woman. I haven't done a huge amount of comedy in my career, and that was a very enjoyable process. It was enjoyable to be part of something where the point was to try and be funny, and there was still a lot of drama in there, and there were still some really important dramatic themes, but it was really good fun to do something that had some light relief, and it was a period piece, and so the costume and the sets and the makeup were also fascinating to be around. I really enjoyed that.
Can you tell me what you might be working on next?
Oh, well, I have already finished it, but I did Channel 4 does an anthology series every year, and so my episode of that will be coming out soon, and I think we did a really good job, and I hope people watch it.
That's very exciting. And if they ever do a last worker 2 or a second to last worker, would you be happy to come back?
Absolutely. Second to last worker is a very good name, by the way.
Thank you so much. Final question. Here's something that I ask every guest on the Sarah O'Connell Show. Can you tell me a fun fact about you? A hobby, a party trick, something like that?
Oh, hobby or party trick, fun fact. Okay, well, a fun fact, which is maybe more sad than it is fun, is that I profess that my height is 5'2", but it's not. Yeah. I've been lying for my entire life. I'm not 5'2", I'm 5'1.5". But I also don't tell anyone that, so don't tell anyone.
You know, also, if you're sat down, that varies. If you're on a hill, if there's no gravity, if you happen to be jumping. I mean, when are we taking this measurement? There's so many variables here.
Right, I agree. Certain people, like my sister and like my husband, think that it's important to be accurate, whatever that means. But I also think that it depends on various factors, like the fact that I want to be seen as 5'2", which I do. Thank you.
It's like, I can make you tiny just by getting further and further away. Or just, look, 19 foot tall, and then... So thank you so much for coming on my show. Have you got any messages for people watching my show and your fans around the world?
Oh, messages? Definitely. And connected to this game, I think the thing for me that is very interesting about this game, I mean, there are lots of things, is that of all the things that have to do with AI and automation and technology, that at the end of it, all we really have are human connections. And I think that's something that very easily gets lost in today's world. I mean, we're all to blame, even myself, and bringing things back to that, I think makes people kinder. I think it makes people more compassionate. And I think just trying to remember that everyone you're dealing with is a human just like you makes you act differently.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on my show, and I'm looking forward to playing the rest of the game, experiencing the rest of your character and performance as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you.
I'm very excited to speak to you. Now, you play Curtin, the Last Worker. Can you tell me how you initially got involved and heard about the project?
Well, I've known Jörg, the creator-director, for a long time. We did a film called The White King a few years ago. I think we started talking about this game. At least I know the game was in his mind from sort of that moment. So I've watched it develop for more than a few years, and it's been a real pleasure to see it now. Today I finally got to play it, and I'm like, wow, blown away how amazing it looks. It's really beautiful.
It does look amazing. And can you tell me how you went about finding your character's voice?
Idiotically, I just felt that I showed up, and I was doing my bit in a studio in Adelaide. This was in mid-COVID. So Jörg and Jason were here in London doing their part, and I was in Adelaide, I think 11 hours ahead or something. But we had a lot of fun with it. I was just kind of blown away by Jason, because how often do you get to see a robot that has a Scouse accent? I think that's really beautiful.
Like twice per year maximum.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Jason does that really well. His accent's brilliant. I felt I just showed up and tried not to be too bad compared to Jason. And then Claire. And then all the other guys.
Well, from what I've heard, you sound amazing.
Good, thank you.
You're very welcome.
But it's a really nice part. It's a really nice part, but it's the story just has this beautiful depth to it, and I just really enjoyed being part of it. So, and it felt really, I don't want to say simple, but maybe just very understandable. So I didn't have to work much to understand my part in it.
So it was effortless, so you could just concentrate on the performance.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What do you love about the character?
I love so many things about him. I find it really interesting that he's the only person left, and I wonder how frightening that has been. But at the same time, he's still there. He's still doing it, and I have a feeling it's been a while since he met any other people. I think he's very much, I think he's like a lot of us today. He is sort of just doing his job, doing what he thinks he should be doing it out of loyalty, out of, just because he's always been doing it, and not really asking himself the questions, why am I doing this, or should I be doing this, or what am I part of? And I love that, in this game we slowly but surely start to ask ourselves the questions that Kurt has to, which is like, does he want to be part of this and continue on? And I think that's a fair example of it. Good, yeah.
I suppose the major question is, how good are the vending machines where he works?
Yes, they must be amazing.
Right. So humanity doesn't exist anymore, but the snacks are pretty good.
I would think so, but probably old. I mean, I imagine every sandwich has like a best before date, which is like 8 months in the future, or 12 years or something. I mean, I'm a big fan of dystopian stories, and I always remember in The Road where they find the Coke, and he gives his son the Coke, and his son has never ever seen a Coke. And for us who've, at least for me, who is like, loves a good Coke, I understand how big of a gift that is.
It's an interesting thought, isn't it? Things that we take for granted, that someone discovering for the first time.
I think absolutely, and we take such massive things in our lives for granted, and especially now. I mean, we've maybe in the last 70 years have been relatively free of big wars. We've had penicillin, we've had all these things that have kept us safe and fed, fertilizer and all that. And now we have questions that are raised about what's going to happen to all that. Are our bees going to survive? And and I think that's fascinating. And those stories really speak to me. And I think this story really speaks to me as well, because it is really interesting to be able to hopefully be part of getting people to at least think about their role in the world and how they are part of it.
I think the best entertainment always stays with you afterwards and gives you things to talk about and things to consider as well.
I think so, and this game also has you get to make choices. You get to decide what kind of person you are and what do you want to stand for, and that's from being a decent good person all the way to being just like I'm just going to join them and fuck the rest.
Always happens. And can you tell me how long it took to record all of the dialogue?
It took us, I want to say it took us about a year and a half, on and off. We had this big session in Adelaide, but then since then I've done probably 2 or 3 sessions in Iceland, and conversations with the director. So all in all, it's taken years, but I don't want to in any way compare my role to those of Jörg, who's the creator, or Wolf and Wood that have developed it. They have done an amazing job of making our performances just shine, and it looks incredible.
You had much chance to play it yourself?
Just this morning.
Really?
I started up before everyone showed up, and I got just a little bit into it, and I can't wait. I'm definitely gonna go buy this VR headset and buy the game and enjoy it.
And of course, you can talk to yourself in the game, which most people can't.
That's true. Maybe that will be annoying when I start, swearing at myself. But I'm really proud to be part of it. I think it's amazing. I really can't wait to show my daughters my game, this game, and hoping they'll be proud of that. I'm part of that.
See, it looks like a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to not only explore the game but experience the storyline and all the dialogue, and the art looks amazing as well. So you starred in Severance, Eurovision, The Meg, How to Train Your Dragon. What are your favourite roles that you've had to date?
Oh, it's so hard to choose between your children. I mean, I just
I'd never ask you to do that, but your favourite. That's my next question. Pick one.
I think my favorite parts have been. I don't think I have one favorite, but I have many favorites. I have parts that, I've been really lucky that I've had moments in my career where I felt I needed something bigger, more responsibility. I needed to be able to expand what I felt that I had shown I could do. And weirdly, I've always been lucky enough to get that, and I sure enough, I've worked hard and I've put my hours in, but I think it would be naive to think that is the only thing you need to succeed in life. You need people to trust in you and to take a chance on you, and I've just been lucky enough to be able to do that again and again. If I had to say something, I would say, I did Secret Life of Walter Mitty with Ben Stiller.
Love that film.
I loved it so much, and I think as parts go, I don't think you can get a better part than a drunk helicopter pilot who has to take his helicopter out and who's singing karaoke at a bar and is really, heartbroken after his girlfriend left him. And then I would have to say Trapped, which is this Icelandic crime Scandinoir series I did, which I really enjoyed doing, and sort of something from home.
And final question, have you got any messages for people watching the Sarah O'Connell show and your fans around the world?
I would just say, thank you for watching. Thank you for your encouragement and being so awesome. Thank you for watching Sarah's show. I've only known Sarah for about 7 minutes now, and I fucking love her. So continue watching. I mean, absolutely.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and I love your work.
Really nice to meet you, Sarah.
You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you for having me.
Even now, we'll start again.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
I'll see you in 3 minutes.
I know, right? We're delighted to have you here today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So you are the director and writer of The Last Worker. Can you tell me how the idea first came about and how you first got involved with the game?
Yeah, I first, it came about back in like 2014 or something like that. This shit takes forever. That's why I need to have...
Roughage.
Fucking roughage. Yeah. I also I need someone to just make games for me. It takes a while to find these people because I don't have any skills, which is why I'm a writer and director. But I walked into one of those sort of like Tesco locals or Sainsbury locals or whatever, and literally overnight all the staff had been replaced by freaking, those sort of self checkout bullshit machines, just like, unknown object in the bagging area things. And there were only 2 employees left, one behind the counter, in front of that cigarette drawer like curtain thing, and the other person was just there sort of, and their only role was to reset the machines when they crash. It was the sort of the Microsoft reset button person. And I walk up to them and go like, this is fucked up. Like, you are basically assisting a dumb robot as opposed to a dumb robot assisting you. So that is not the right way of things. And those sort of, dystopian pop-up shops started happening everywhere. And I didn't enjoy it. I actually even started stealing shit from them. Like, I just occasionally...
Just from the staff?
No, not from the staff. I like the staff. From the robots, I would just sneak a steak past one of the robots. But yeah, I did... from the very beginning, I felt like I had to rebel against these fucking things. And also, like, if only they could look like the Terminators. Yeah. You know what I mean? Then I had something to run from. But they're a dumbass box that is still... taken the most essential thing away from us, which is our identity, our raison d'etre, our reason to be on this fucking earth, is to do shit. And when you take that away from people, it's so dehumanizing, it's so fucked up. And so that was the seed of it, yeah.
Can you tell me how long everything took to write?
Actually, I'm an incredible procrastinator. So while I'm against automation, I also wish I just had while I am a procrastinator and while I am against automation for automation's sake, I wish I'd had ChatGPT to fucking write the thing for me, because the pain of writing is hardcore. But once you're done with it, you feel satisfied. But it's it took me not that long. I mean, I'm very good at the sort of top-level conceptual stuff. I come up with it quickly, and then I start assembling teams based on the top-level stuff already. Like Mick McMahon came on very early, for instance, the wonderful Mick McMahon, and Darri came on very quickly as well, and Oliver Krauss, the composer. And once I had them, I started recording them and stuff, and it's like, oh shit, now I better find some programmers for this or whatever. That took a while, because finding a team like Wolf and Wood is rare. And Ryan and his team have been making original titles of their own, and also the Exorcist game, which was a brilliant game, for a long time. And the fact that I met him at the right moment where he was ready to jump on something new, it was going to be one of his potentially, but we clicked and we went, let's make this shit together. It was a godsend, because this game is hard to make, and it has a lot of seemingly disparate things coming together, or perhaps they're disparate for some people, who knows, it's for you guys to judge. But finding them was hard. But and then we started working on it. I had an outline at first, and then once we got into development, at some point it was like, Ryan is like, right, is the script coming there, mate? Or I'm like, oh right, yeah, the fucking script. And then it took me about 3 months, so it was pretty quick, because I didn't have more time. And I guess someone just has to put fire under my ass, and then I'll do it.
Can you tell me, is the game set in the future? I assume it is, but then we have robots now, so I don't know.
Exactly. I don't know if it's set in the future. I actually don't know. It might also be set in the past. I mean, the visual style of it, Mick being, our concept artist and character designer, is also deeply rooted in sort of like paranoid 1970s, 80s comics as well. Judge Dredd invented, fucking Brexit Britain, it feels like. So, and maybe we are ruled by nerds who will just try to copy what they know, which is comics. Look at Elon Musk. So I don't know. Is it the past? Is it the future? Is it the present? It is all of the above. I mean, the thing is, I do feel that Kurt is us, and I feel like Kurt most of the days. We're all here, yourself included, forced to deliver content at all costs, at all times. Mostly working from home on our own, like pandemics or not. The pandemic normalized something that they wanted us to do to begin with, is to stay at home and buy their shit and have it delivered to a door, like a virus, indeed. So, it is an alternate reality, but one that feels rather close to home, close to working from home.
Can you tell me some of the gameplay features? What are we going to be doing in the game?
In this game, you get to pick boxes, label boxes, discard boxes, recycle boxes, put stickers on them, chuck them around, lose boxes. You get to be fired. You get to get good points for good work, and you get to do all this mindless, dumbass shit for a while, until suddenly you get approached by a group of activists who don't really like the effect of this corporation has had on the outside. And of course, you haven't seen the outside world for 25 years, like all of us these days, for that matter. And they want you to do something about it from the inside, being the only remaining human being in there. And so you do, and you start doing activist missions. You start hacking into certain areas. You start, following robots around. You start engaging with some of these crazy characters. Most of them are automated, or are they? But anyway, you'll see in the game, and then you even start to engage in combat, and you start to do stealth missions, and.
It's like real life.
It is exactly like real life. Yeah.
Almost relentlessly following around robots.
I am.
I assume they are.
But you are. I mean, when you put a video on YouTube, you have to please the algorithms, and you have to make sure that they pay attention to your content, because all that content is an attention-seeking data pack. That's what we've all been reduced to. So we're also all toddlers now, running around going, "Rah!" And it's a crazy existence, because I thought we were adults, and I thought we were allowed to do that, but they don't want us to be adults, because that would mean that we would be confident and comfortable in our own existence, and we could just sort of like a real leader, never speak above a whisper, and just do our shit, But they don't want us to do our shit.
But instead, with this algorithm thing, I'm constantly compelled to say things like World Cup, new Miley Cyrus album, Marvel MCU, and stuff like that, just so that it's in the interview.
Yes, absolutely. Poop as well. I think poop is very popular with the 6 to 8 demographic.
People that like writing words backwards.
Oh. That took me a while, but yeah, it's hilarious. It's incredible. It's incredibly clever. Can we think of other ones?
Bob.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's the main one.
That's the one.
Yes. That's on the front cover of the book.
That's fucking incredible. And it's great, because now finally we have something to think about. Poop.
I felt people around are probably panicking at what this interview is. It's amazing. Can you give us any gameplay tips, things that we should look out for, any potential Easter eggs, anything like that?
I mean, my biggest gameplay tip is make sure that your console is connected to the electric sort of grid in your house, because I've realized last time I was pushing the button and I thought the PS5 was broken. So I called up customer support, and I had to wait for 45 minutes, because it's quite a popular time with PSVR2 having just come out and everything else. I didn't realize that it had a cable that goes into the console. So I plugged that in. I still push the button. It still won't turn on, even though I just plugged it into the console. It turns out that the cable that goes out of the console into the wall is the one that powers the whole thing. And so that is something I really want to encourage all of your listeners, viewers, and content consumers so the Easter egg is the game turning on, and it's incredible what happens after that.
I had the exact same thing. I had a technician on the phone with me for 3 hours, went through everything, making sure the cables are connected properly, power's on, all that kind of stuff. Turns out in the end I didn't even have a console. 3 hours that took.
Yeah, content. And but that's the loneliness that we feel. Like, they want us to consume these machines, but then they also expect us to fucking pay for them, which I think is incredibly selfish. The other thing is, like, money is a pain in the ass.
Unless you put it somewhere else.
I feel less rich now, though. Yeah, I pull it out and I feel a bit poor, impoverished for it.
Sorry to hear that.
Hang on one sec.
So you spent 3 months working on that game. Can you tell me what you might be working on next? No, writing based on just earlier in the interview, that's what you told me, unless that was a lie.
No. The writing, I mean, technically, of the scripty script bits, that's what professionals call it, the scripty script.
Oh, yeah.
That was about 3 months, but I could only actually get to the writing part once I'd figure out what all the gameplay part was, because in most games the writing part seems to be tacked on to the game shit, and then you're just playing a game with like really shitty cutscenes, and then people do the review, but the production value was really great because it kind of looks like TV, like a movie, and they go like, well, the writing was really good for a video game. And I want to die when I hear this kind of stuff, because I genuinely regard video games to be the ultimate art form. Yeah. It is the thing that combines every art form that's ever existed beforehand into
pottery.
Pottery?
Yeah, pottery, because there's 3D models.
Pottery's in there. Carpentry. Yeah. You have
great 70s band.
Exactly, it's a good band. It combines music. Speaking of bands, brings that in there. Theatre, sport, social interaction, debate. Fucking everything is in there.
Anything you can think of.
Anything you can think of is in video games, and therefore they're the ultimate art form. There's Wagner was a bit of a dick. He had this incredible term, though, and every clock, broken clock, whatever. But Wagner was he's pretty broken, but also fucking had a big ass noise when he went boom at the end of it, 12 o'clock. That guy, he came up with the term Gesamtkunstwerk, which I'd like to shout in the street because it's impressive. Gesamtkunstwerk, which means total art form, and he did that. That was opera back in the day, which the closest thing to video games back then was the opera. And then look at Lord of the Rings, which was maybe the last big epic movie ever made by Hollywood. I fell asleep, but it's still impressive. But that's Wagner, right? It is that. And now video games get you to be inside these fucking worlds, these big worlds, and explore them, and beat people over the head with the shit and whatever. And it's all very exciting. I am excited about the fact that games are only at the beginning. They are. I mean, they've only been on for 40 years. Shakespeare, when he was writing plays had already been around for hundreds of years. But
and now we've got the SpongeBob SquarePants musical. Think how things have advanced.
Yes. Yeah. What can you quote one of the soliloquies from it?
Who liveth in a pineapple under thou sea?
Yeah, that's it.
Every word of this is scripted. It's incredible.
It's good. Yeah. I spent 3 months writing this exchange, which is quite interesting because it seems interactive. Have
you got any messages for fans of The Last Worker and indeed the Sarah O'Connell show?
Yes, buy the fucking game already and stop talking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. No.
Pre-order it.
No, I genuinely have no. Okay, for those people that go like, oh, this game's anti-capitalist, and it's like, no, it's not. It's about end-stage capitalism. It's like I've got a granny who has some sort of end-stage disease. Doesn't mean you hate her and want her dead. It just means you're pointing out the fact that something is seriously wrong with her. And I think we're currently living in a time where I feel we have burnt out a little bit. we're broken and we're in pain. You know, we're hurting. There's a bunch of rich fuckers who believe that they own technology, when in fact technology is the most natural thing. And my reason for that is because art, if we think that art is the expression of our soul, and the purest expression of our soul, which I believe is completely true, and it's also the ultimate act of rebellion and the most purest expression of who you are, then if we go back to the first known piece of art that any human being ever made, and it was the cave paintings, right? And how the fuck did they make them? With tech. They had to invent the fire first, or figure out how to make that, how to recreate that fire without setting themselves on fire, which would have been quite difficult. How many fucking aborted, cave paintings of someone actually charred next to their, they didn't even lay the freaking pencil on there. They had to invent the pen and the scraping tool and the paint that would actually outlast the ages. I'm sure there have been like millions of cave paintings before, and they all failed because they didn't have the tech. So tech and art go hand in hand. Video games are not unique to this. And so can we please not hold up Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Zuckerberg and all these people as these fucking magicians? No, they've usurped something and taken ownership of something that we've owned all along. Tech is our spider web. It's our natural extension. So let's make it a part of our own. Let's create shit within it. Let's say things with it. And if there's any message that I want to have to all of you guys, like, let's fucking embrace games as something that makes you think, that makes you do, that makes you love. And let's just fucking play games and talk to each other about everything.
A lot of fun talking to you, and thank you for coming on my show.
Thank you very much for having me, sir.
Ryan, welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks.
Huge relief. So you are, of course, the founder of indie studio Wolf and Wood. Can you tell me when the studio was first set up, and also where it is in the UK?
So we're based in the northeast, and I set up the studio. I started in London actually in 2015, and I was a solo developer, designer, released a game, and then built a team up to make more games.
And can you tell me how big is the dev team at the moment?
So the studio at the moment is 7 people. We've fluctuated, but yeah, 7 people, all grafting.
Fluctuate, 7 people, some phase in and out of existence.
Yeah, some fall out the window, some have lawnmower accidents. Yeah, it's just the way of the development, really.
So can you tell me some of the previous games you worked on at the studio?
Yeah, so we've done 2 horror titles. The Exorcist Legion VR, which had people vomiting in the cinema. Oh no, that was their film. And then the initial one with Chair in the Room Greenwater, which again, another horror title, and it's just fantastic watching people play horror games, especially when you know what's coming and you can see, like, in VR especially, where you can see the kind of like head shaking, or like somebody will look at something and look away and then look back, and there is just like a really satisfying, as far as the developer, it's something like really satisfying just watching that kind of visceral response to something you made. Then after that we did Hotel R&R, which is about a failed rock star who does a deal with the devil, and you smash up hotel rooms, and that's pretty much what you do in the game.
It's a lot cheaper than doing it in real life.
It's a lot cheaper, yeah. There's some cheap hotels though.
That's very true, and that's probably why.
Yeah.
So why does the studio focus so much on VR? What do you love about it?
It's kind of first time we did a lot of work on The Last Worker in like VR initially, to get all the control and everything set up and like set the ground for everything, and then we moved over to like make the game in flat, just with controller and on screen, and like we played the game a lot like that. We built up a lot of the world and a lot of the interactions with that, and then jumping back into the VR version once that world had kind of built up and seeing it for the first time. That's what kind of makes us excited about VR. It's just, you go somewhere, you do something. It just takes you out of, you're not second screening, you're not messing about, you're not like looking out the window, whatever. If something's not got your attention, it's got to get your attention. You've got to be there, you've got to be present.
Can't even drink a cup of tea without clanking it on the top of the...
I've got a system. I used to I used to test levels and just have my sandwich at the same time, which is always like quite difficult. But yeah, I feel you can drink so long as you've not got a massive container or a straw. Straw works well.
Unless you're having a sandwich.
Hats with a kind of beer cans on, that would do it.
Can you give me any tips? So I've got PSVR2. The motion sickness on that first day was quite interesting. Any tips to avoid motion sickness in VR?
I think if you take it in shorter play sessions, I tend to take breaks in between. I find that helps. Definitely not playing too hungover or drunk even. And yeah, just ground yourself from time to time. Have a cup of tea in between, have a little break for your cup of tea, rather than trying to drink it through your hat or whatever system.
So you're suggesting to take the thing off before I do that? Interesting. Yeah. So I'll cook an entire dinner with it on. So can you tell me how the last worker actually came about? Why did the studio decide to work on it?
Yeah, so Jörg had the idea for this fun dystopia, and he were looking for people to work with, people who could bring it to life, and we were put in contact, and we kind of decided that we could bring it to life. So yeah, we've chatted ideas straight away. I think within days of meeting we'd got a lot of new ideas and things that we could put in there, and different routes we could go with different things, and new characters evolved from the whole discussions, and yeah, the whole thing just kind of came to quite organically after that. And then we went around looking for a publisher who would be willing to get involved in something quite so odd. And Wire Productions, they took a gamble on it, and obviously they put this nice event on and everything today. It's all cool. So it's just been obviously everything happened in between with COVID-19 and whatnot, so it's been a weird few years, having to get heads into a lot of kind of change while we've been developing. We've not been doing our normal, everybody in the office bouncing ideas off each other. There's been a lot of a lot of Zoom calls and other lesser platforms.
Yeah, it's true. Zoom is the best. Go Zoom, shouting out the window, smoke signals, they're the top three.
Pigeons.
I know, I love pigeons. Yeah, just text a pigeon, get them to pass it on. Can you tell me how long the game's been in development for?
So those initial conversations with Jörg happened mid-2019, and then we got publisher involved to actually start full production in 2020. So we're 2.5-3 years. I know Jörg's been working on it a lot longer with with Mick McMahon, the concept artist who he worked on Judge Dredd and a lot of 2000 AD stuff, which is just he's really nice fella as well. So he's been working at a long time before that, but as far as everybody getting stuck in and building this whole facility, then that's been happening over the last 2.5 years.
And can you tell me the platforms it's releasing on?
Yep, so it's going to be PC, console and VR. VR is PlayStation VR 2 and Quest 2. Consoles, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation 5 and PC. PCs.
Can you say anything about the release date at the moment?
I think that's been announced.
That'll make that easy then.
That would make it easy. I'm going to check though, I don't want to... Hang on, there's everybody. I'm just going to...
Yeah.
Sam, is the last worker date revealed?
Date is revealed, yeah.
It is?
Release date's out. Yeah, no, release date was announced last week, so March 9th.
I know,
Now I'm thinking if there's anything we haven't said.
I can't remember.
So yeah, we've spoken about the release date, the sequel, the threequel, the movie, all of that stuff.
Good interview, so that's
Yeah, all Sam's secrets.
And we've done it in 3 languages.
Yeah, C.
Yeah. And we've listed various letters. Is there any chance of any DLC or future updates or anything like that?
Oh, we're still a couple of weeks away from release, so I just want to get to that before we plan anything else, and then have some sleep, and then we'll think about that. Yeah.
See, once every 2 years is a very good idea, and then think about your next thing.
Yeah, that's how it works. Like, I don't know, do crocodiles sleep like that? I'm not sure. They seem to sleep all day. No, that's a bad example.
Yeah, they never reply to my phone calls during the day.
No, only night.
Yeah, at night they're really snappy.
Yeah, they get drunk and they're a bit leery.
Absolute nightmare. So, final question, have you got any messages for fans of The Last Worker?
Right, I weren't ready for that. I'm going to say you've got to catch them all. I might go with that.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Yeah, that'll catch on, won't it?
Why haven't I done that before?
Yeah, fans of The Last Worker. I don't know, it's not out yet. Hopefully we'll have fans.
Yeah.
Hope to see you. Is that okay?
That's lovely. I like it. Well, thank you very much for your time and coming on the Sarah O'Connell Show.
Oh, no worries. Take it easy.
Appreciate it.